welcome to Oh Brother, the podcast of three brothers trying to figure it all out, with your hosts Brandon, Collin, and Aaron. On this week's show, Wonka Bars. Hello.
Hello.
What's going on?
Oh, not too much. Just dealing with the last few days before school starts, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Excitement.
Yeah, you're in the final lead up.
Yeah, it starts on Tuesday, so.
Ask around the riverbend.
Yeah, pretty much.
Only no cool hummingbirds or raccoons, I guess.
Definitely no raccoons. That's probably for the best, though. I don't think we probably need those.
No.
Mucking up the works, you know.
Yeah, I don't think they'd appreciate that, you know.
What about you? What are you doing?
We went to the fair.
Of course.
Of course. And we went yesterday, which was fine. There was hardly anybody there. But today apparently was insanely packed. On the way to the pool, Megan and the kids went to the pool day. I didn't get to go. I was dealing with dogs, but they saw that the parking was just utterly insane. And then when we were there yesterday, we were kind of talking to some of the vendors, like how attendance was and what things were like, and they were like, "Yeah, not very many people today." They said it was really down. Yesterday was also extremely hot up here. Like with the humidity, it was 99 degrees, and there was no shade anywhere.
Oh, yuck.
But no, it was good. We got to see lots of raptors and moles. And one of the exhibits that I wasn't expecting to like as much was the Dahlia Club. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's some club based around a flower. And there was like basically a horticultural society. And they judged people's plants all around the state. And then they brought clippings of those to show off, I guess, for the fair. So that was really neat to see all this variety of plants and plant clippings and trees that they had assembled. And they even had some arrangements where people had made little, not necessarily dioramas, but little arrangements of different plants in like a bucket or showing like a little waterfall or things like that. And I really enjoyed that. That was super cool.
It doesn't sound super enjoyable.
Sure. But it really, it was. I wasn't expecting that. We did not see the butter cow. Sorry.
Oh, dang it.
I cannot report on that. We did ride Ferris wheel. And then we went to try and find some other rides that the kids could enjoy because they've never ridden anything.
It's because the fair rides are death traps, as discussed last week.
As discussed previously. So
they have like a carousel or something, relatively.
That was the last one we rode, was the carousel.
All right.
We also had them ride one of these things where there were 4 like monster trucks you sat in, and then they just kind of ran around this same track in this little circle, not fast at all, but since they're monster trucks, they were kind of like going over objects, and so you kind of tilted up.
Oh, okay. I think yeah.
But like the wheels turned, and you were sitting on like basically like a big Power Wheels car. But they were all going at the same speed. They liked that, but then they didn't like it because it was pretty clangy and metallic-y as the big objects were coming up and down, or the trucks were moving.
Loud noises, crunchy. Kablamo.
And then, so we kind of worked our way a little bit further towards the kid area, and they have this little roller coaster that's like really simple. It's shaped like a worm. You go up. It kind of stays on the top level where it comes around, it does some of these little dips where it goes wooga 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 wooga.
Yeah.
And then it kind of falls a little bit, but the kids didn't mind the fall. It was the hard right turn that whipped them around.
That one might also be the clangy noise because those things usually like bone rattling, like.
So when we asked them what they didn't like about it, they didn't say the clangy. They did say it was the hard right turn. That was the one that they focused on. So then we went and relaxed and rode the carousel, which was nice.
Do they still have like those like pony ride things? You remember those? Where it was like, I don't know. This is old school. They had like ponies and they were on like it was kind of like a carousel, but like actual horses, and they just sort of walked around in a circle.
Oh,
right.
No, they did not have that. I could not see.
They probably don't do those kind of things at like big fairs because that'd be a lot of kids, and those little poor horses would be like, no, can't make it.
Right. No, I did not see they didn't do live animals there. We did go to
probably for the best.
The kids area for like the other animals to talk about farm animals, which was really fun. Just to kind of see them all concentrated. And then
did you pet a sheep?
We did see a sheep and a goat.
There you go.
And a pig. Of course, Lillian's favorite part was the cats. And I was like, naturally.
Sure. The one animal that you can see on a normal basis, I suppose.
Exactly. And then we went over, saw the fish, the conservation department, aquariums, and then that is just right next to where they put all the tractor equipment. So then that was a lot of fun for Noah to go around and see all the tractors, climbing them, telling us, it was really funny because he knows a lot about them and their parts and the constituent makeup of them and things and what they're used for. And we were like, wow, like you know a lot. How do you know so much, Noah? And he was like, my brain. I was like, yeah, exactly. Good job. Rode the rides, got faces painted, and then came home. So it was good. Got a funnel cake.
No fair food, no corn dog, no funnel cake.
No, we did get a funnel cake. Sorry, I left that out from the report. Sorry, we did get a funnel cake, and we go up to this little. They've got their little huts and trailers all over the place for the food, and we just walk up to this random one because it's like, well, this is the closest, and it says it sells both funnel cakes and lemonade, so we're good. We go up and I look, and the guy that we're buying it from is one of our clients. We sit his dog like all the time.
Boom.
And I was like, hi, what are you doing here?
Like selling funnel cakes. Read the sign. Come on, what are you doing?
Well, and then I was like, I don't actually know what you do for a living. So like, do you own this thing, or like, are you working here, or like, what's this relationship? Because I have no idea what you actually do otherwise. I think he's a teacher, and then he's doing this for the summer thing. I have no idea, but I was just like, oh, hi. Like, this is now weird. But no, it was really good. It was really good. Like I said, there was like nobody there. Like there was no lines for anything. People were just, I don't know if it was just hot or if it was weird because it was a Thursday. I guess, a lot of people showed up today for it. So yeah, that's your fair report from the
fair report.
Missouri
fair.
It was fair. Fair. Yep. We didn't go into any of the like barns. They've got the swine barn and the cattle barn and all those things where you can go. Oh no, they're very excited about all the upgrades they did to the swine barn this year. It was like $1 million or $2 million.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I don't know. Like, it just shows you, like, it's just on, I forget how many acres I said it was last time, but they did, like, $1 million. Last year, they spent the down year to do $8 million worth of upgrades.
Uh-huh.
And from what I saw, I don't know where I spent that money. Which tells me it was all, like, probably, like, electrical circuits and water lines.
Yeah, like structural for interior building structures. Like, hey, this roof is falling down. Oh no!
Exactly. Yeah, that's totally my thought. Because I was like, there's no new buildings and nothing's like painted or anything. So, okay, well, whatever. It's fine.
Oh dear.
Yeah. And when we left, so they've got tractors that pull little carriages that you can ride on if you're going for a piece. And we rode one from the parking lot up to the gate, and then we walked in, but the loop that we did took us to the furthest side of the park, of the fairgrounds. So we decided of course we were going to ride the tram thing back. Well, we hopped on, and they're just outward facing bench seats with a little walkway in the middle, and that's where the attendant walks. And she came over and she tapped me on the shoulder, and she was like, "It's 50 cents a person." And I was like, "Oh." So I handed her $1, and I said, "No change." And I guess Megan had already paid. Anyway, it ended up where I needed to pay for 3 people there, like me and the kids. And I didn't have 50 cents. So I just handed her $2, and I was like, please don't give me change. I don't want change. I don't want. I'm done with the day. I don't want to add anything extra to my pockets. And nothing. And she was just like, "Oh, okay." I was like, don't pester somebody else the next ride, right? Just whatever. I don't care. I don't want change in my pockets. But no, I approve. I think we may try and go back tomorrow. After like 3 or whatever. I think it's free entry.
Nice
to get in. So
cool down a little bit, maybe.
Yes, it'll cool down a little bit. And that's what we did 2 years ago. And there was even less people in there than we saw 2 days ago. So hopefully it will be virtually, they'll have the whole place to ourselves. So, which was nice.
Because isn't it the last day tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow's the last day. I couldn't imagine being on the fairgrounds with as many people as I saw, like as we've seen cars parked in the parking lot. That would be totally not enjoyable for me.
It's very unfun, right? Yeah. Like just the crush of people becomes very off-putting.
Yeah.
At least for me as well. Yeah. Like,
I guess if you're going there to do like the drunken karaoke bars off the main drag, or if you're there to go to a concert or something, like, sure, maybe you want more people. But for me there to enjoy it with like the kids, like I don't want anybody around.
Less people for your terribly irrelevant bands from 25 years ago that no one cares about.
I know. I forgot who headlined last night. Anyway, while I looked that up, what's new, Aaron? Aaron, how are you? You surviving?
When did you guys start podcasting tonight?
Like 35 seconds before you joined.
Yeah. Hi.
Okay.
I was watching it, and then like Collin started talking, and the little thing went to 3. So yes.
No, not a whole lot. Finished the first real week of school.
And you're still alive. This is good.
We had our first scrimmage. Was that last night?
Yeah.
Little bit of a struggle. It was also like 110 degrees or something like that.
It's very hot. Yeah.
I didn't get home till about like midnight because I spent like a whole day at school. Then we had practice, and we had field set up, field painting, and then we had the scrimmage, which lasted forever. And then went and got my car worked on today. I was carless because I showed up, and I was like, I'll just need an oil change and possibly my AC looked at, and no, it'd be a problem. And then they're like, it'll be 4 hours. I was like, Billy, please. And so I've just been kind of grading papers, kind of just doing lesson plan things. I got to go down tomorrow. We're going to try to watch quote unquote game film. Like tomorrow, like afternoon. So we'll see how that goes. But that's kind of really about it as far as my week goes. Like we had a test Friday.
You already giving tests? Man, what a hardcore teacher you are.
Had a pretty basic. It was easy.
I'm just kidding.
Finally got Chromebooks into my classroom, which was definitely needed to teach keyboarding. But yeah, other than that, my week's been pretty pretty chill.
Nice.
My body is very sore.
Is it tired? Yeah.
Yes, and I'm also very sunburned. Like I look at me and I'm like, wow, really tan. And then like I tilt my arm like a smidge and the sunlight hits it. I'm like, I'm burnt. So
yeah.
Being out in the sun more is kind of nice, but my skin's not liking it right now.
Or you don't. Sometimes I don't realize it until I like look in the mirror and you see it from that angle. Like, oh, that's red. Oh yeah. Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah. So that's my body trying to adjust to actual like life outside, because before I didn't really have to worry about that, because it was either like, oh, I'm in an office typing, or oh, I go outside for like a little, and then I'm like, now I'm back inside safe.
20 minutes.
But we spent like 3 hours outside at a time. I'm like, oh yes, this is
get some of that sunblock.
This is why I wear long. This is why I wear long sleeve shirts like
there you go.
The whole year round. So.
So how is the adjustment to 8-person football? How is that for you?
It's different. It is much faster pace. It is like with 11 man or normal football, like it's fast paced, but it's very kind of like what's the word, thematic. Like it's very like there's a kind of like a rhythm to it. Like it's kind of more easy. Like you can sit back and like watch it and be able to see everything. With 8-man football, yes, even though it's like, there's not that many people, it still can go by super quickly. And so, like, you don't have to take so long to set up. You can, use the, open spaces of the field to create all these angles and all of that stuff.
There would be more open space, wouldn't there?
Yes, but the field is smaller. Like it's more narrow.
Yeah. Is it shorter as well?
11-man. No.
Okay.
I don't have my thing. It's not shorter. It's more narrow. I think instead of it's like 45. I think. I don't remember. I just remember painting the lines, and that's about it.
Okay, that's fair.
Also gave me a huge respect of like, going to our school. Like we actually had people to come and paint the fields. I didn't really have to worry about that too much at the school I was at before, but this one, it's like, well, here's a can, go paint. Like we have a little like push sprayer thingy, but it's like, oh, wow, I have a newfound respect for people who do this like every week, or maintenance crews in general, because I'm just trying to paint a line on a field and it's impossible unless you have like a whole crew. And so it gave me kind of a whole new perspective of definitely being patient, and I'm going to be out here for a while painting this field.
Do you have a little rolly thing, the little roller can deal that you just
yes. Thankfully, we have one of those, but we have to stretch out we have to measure the lines. We have to stretch and stake down a thin, like, it looks like twine kind of like across the field. And that's what we follow. Also hasn't before that, it hasn't rained in several days, or like a week or two or several. And then it decided to rain right when we were starting to paint. But our field is slowly dying. Because again, it has been 110 degrees.
Yeah, it's brown.
But like coaching wise, I mean, for the scrimmage, like we're just trying to see where people fit in, how are we going to do things for this certain look. There was 3 schools, us and the 2 others, and we just kind of did like our defense against their offenses, just back to back, and then we would switch it up and do like there wasn't scoring. It was just trying to see like how well we could develop players in certain positions. And so it lasted from about 6 to 9 ish. And then afterwards we had to pick up the fields and talk to parents and do all that kind of stuff. And then I didn't leave until about like 10:30. So yeah, I hadn't done a late night like that in a long time. So my body just kind of was like, oh, and bed. So but it's fun. I love being out there. I love talking with the kids and the players and the parents, and it also kind of gave me a perspective if I'm not coaching and I see some of my like sixth graders and just hearing the concept, like from like the back like stadium. I'm like, I'm not, go away, please. I'm focused on something else right now.
They're supporting the school. This is good.
I'm gonna have a talk with my kids one day. I was like, when Coach Funkazer's coaching, especially if we're not winning, you don't talk to him.
You have to yell really loudly. Yell suggestions. Dive left. Right.
I'll be up in the press box for majority of the time because I don't like people. So I don't have to. But yeah, I was up there trying to get the camera stuff, and I looked up, and there was like 12 of my sixth graders. I'm like, hey guys, what's up? So yeah, Coach Funkazer's going to have a talk with his kids on Monday.
In their defense, what else are they supposed to do in small town Oklahoma? Exactly. Come and watch the football game. So
but
I'm envisioning lots of pistol offense. Is this accurate? Like real fast, West Coast, actually, pistol style.
Yeah.
Hey, bang!
Look at that. A lot kind of more like what is it called? Dadgummit, you got me mixed up. Option, run, pass kind of things. More run heavy option, pass. Like I said, we got a lot of athletes.
The power eye, yes,
but we don't have the size to do that.
So no wishbone.
No. You can only have 3 players in the backfield, and
so there goes the wishbone. That's 75 players in the backfield.
And so yeah, we don't have the size to just go toe to toe and just run like at you constantly. We're going to have to spread you out and get those
wing T
and get those lanes. Yes. Also, no, not big enough for that. And so like, and it's really funny talking with like these other like 8-man schools. Like there's a school that's out in the Panhandle. And they're like, we did all this. And then we talked to an 8-man school that's like south of Tulsa a ways. And they're like, our smallest lineman's like 6'6". And we're like, we have a lineman that's like 5'7". So
it's fine. Block low. It's all good.
Get all low. We can do. It was emotionally, there's a lot of frustration among players. And so trying to get acclimated to a new program, a thing where there's actually coaches who know what they're doing. This school hasn't had that in a long time. And so, and yeah, I mean, there was just a lot. I was just like, I am tired. So I was definitely fine with staying home for the entire weekend, but I have to go down there Monday and watch film that one of my middle schoolers filmed. So there might not even be anything on it. So we'll see what happens. But
they might have like filming like one play, that girl over there, and then like the highway, and then like the play again. Like,
so we shall see what it entails. I'm interested to see, but I'm also totally okay with getting that text message early in the morning, like, hey, just don't worry, don't bother coming down. Oh, you sure? Oh man, I wish. But okay.
Oh no. Okay, send me some pictures. It's fine.
No.
Be okay.
But other than that, that's been my week. Not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot, and then boom, crazy, and now it's just kind of coasting. Right now, at least.
That's all right. That's probably gonna be my week next week, right?
Yeah.
Like, this week we had open house on Thursday, so it was just like long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was just a long day because we had work in service, working classrooms all day long, and then like, you just have to stay here because it's open house later. So it's like, so I sat forever and I watched 700,000 training videos, which are varying degrees of useful. And then like, I did a lot of file organization because I was down to little things like I could do this. So I was doing some file organizing, and like, because I am a serial piler of things, right? That's how I organize stuff. I'm just like, I was going to put it in this pile. Blap.
Yeah.
So I sort of hanging file folder, like some of my first unit stuff, like separated out all my sheets and my little logs and my lab experiments and all that stuff. Like,
Gotcha.
So now I have the paper copies ready, easily accessible, hopefully easily findable for the first unit anyway. After that, I was like, slam them in here. It's fine. So my first units are good. After that, still in a pile, but it's a smaller pile.
That's all you can do sometimes.
Yeah, it's fine. Oh, I did have. Here's a segueing from what we did this week into weird things that don't make any sense. Right. So I mini rant before we move on to other things later. I was thinking, but this thought came about because we had like food day, right? They actually bought us food this year for all our in-service days, which is exciting because normally they're like, we're going to provide lunch for 2 days. That's it. The rest of it, whatever. Starve, we don't care. Get out of here. Anyway, the last day, they had, it was actually kind of cool. They had like one of the local guys bring his food truck down and just like, you could just go buy food, you get food, and then the school paid for everything at the end. So that was pretty rad. Anyway,
nice.
One of the dessert options was, the school bought, they had like ice cream and stuff inside, and they had Klondike bars. And I got to thinking that the slogan for the Klondike bar is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
What did you do for the Klondike bar?
Yeah, and so the commercials, they do this. Like they present this to you like the Klondike bar is the be all end all of ice cream bars. International listeners, if you are unfamiliar with Klondike bar, it's basically ice cream with a chocolate candy shell on the outside.
Nothing very exciting. I mean, let's just be...
Yeah. The flavor of the ice cream changes, but the standard Klondike bar is like vanilla ice cream with chocolate shell on it.
Yep.
And they're not very big either.
No, but they're fine. They have different flavors now. They have like the Reese's peanut butter one and like the mint one and like other things, right? Like Heath bar and all this stuff. But like one of the commercials I have right now is like, what would you do for a Klondike bar? And the dude like shaves his eyebrow for a Klondike bar.
What?
And I had the sudden realization, dude, these things cost 50 cents.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Right? Then people are like, oh, we're gonna do this. I'll do this crazy thing for an ice cream bar.
Yeah.
50 cents.
50 cents.
That's how much they cost.
Yeah.
Just buy. I'm just, like, what would you do for a Klondike bar? Me personally, I would just go to the store and buy one.
I would buy it.
That's it. I don't mind. It's like the cost of this dessert does not warrant this like grandiose thing. Like, oh man, I would like jump off this ledge. Like, it costs 50 cents. Like, what are you doing with your life?
Oh, I know.
That is like a really huge depart of like, oh my gosh, I could never have this Klondike. 50
cents. Yeah. You're like,
and I was just like, so we can add this to the things that will never sponsor us segment of the show. But I just was thinking about this for the past few days and was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like the jingle's really catchy, you know? But like,
the actual,
it doesn't make any sense when you think about it.
Yeah, you get down to brass tacks, you're talking about something that's 50 cents. Like you wouldn't say the same thing about like, I don't know, like a gumball from a gumball machine. You're like, wow, what would you do for this? Like, I'd probably just
like other, like it's just basically like you could, like, what would you do for this bag of M&Ms? Like, buy it.
Yeah,
I don't like. I don't know.
Yeah, really putting a lot out there, not leaving room to go anywhere. Because what are you going to do with something that's like $1? You're like,
yeah, right. Some of the other ice cream sandwiches you can buy are like they do cost $1. Like, oh, that's unobtainable. Oh my goodness. Oh, never.
I guess I'll save both eyebrows. Okay.
Yeah. Like, what extreme thing would you do for that? Like, oh no. Like, I can't. I just kind of sat down. I was thinking about this because I didn't have a lot to do the other day while I was watching my training videos. And I was like, this is so ridiculous. Why? And then I saw that commercial of the dude's like, I'd shave my eyebrow. And I was like, you, what? Why?
Man, I would. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Low standards here.
Well, I guess. Yeah, I guess. Or you just really love ice cream bars. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. You don't know. Ice cream bars are life, man. You don't know.
That's true. I don't think Klondike bars would probably rate in my. They're probably not even my third favorite ice cream bar. If I had to think about this for a while, so I don't.
Oh man, third favorite ice cream bars. You got
it. Coming soon. I'd think about that one.
Okay.
Oh, we could just do third favorite candy bars too. What? No, show notes for later. Okay. We got top 5 candy bars coming soon. That's what. That's it. You know, now that I don't like shop in the store, that's a thing that I don't buy ever.
Yeah.
Right? Because like that's like the ultimate impulse buy is the candy bar.
Yes.
You know, like generally I don't go on a mission to procure a candy bar. It's just like the thing that's there because they are 50 cents, right? So you're just like, oh yeah, I'll just get that.
Sweet.
Why not?
Yeah. It is inconsequential to the most of your day. It's just like,
like I'm already buying all this other stuff. I'll grab this too and eat it later, you know, after lunch or something. Mm-hmm. But like now that we buy our groceries, like we do the pickup thing and stuff, and I don't go to inside the store very much.
Yeah.
Like that is not something that I actually buy.
Sorry, you're missing out on that.
Yeah, I know.
Swing by.
I have to think about. It's true. I have to make a trip to the store so I can think about my top 5 candy bars. Coming soon.
I'm doing research.
That's true.
This is very important.
Just standing in the middle of the aisle. Sir, what are you doing? Research, stop it.
Leave me to my thoughts.
This is important.
Some
people want to know.
Like one of most of them and then sitting down and like writing notes in your journal. Like, well, what about?
I don't think I would probably be that in depth with that particular investigation.
Fun.
Willy Wonka is an inspiration. How dare you?
Yeah. That's it. You're not invited.
The majority of candy in
Chocolate Factory.
The weird thing about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is the majority of the candy that they talk about and is produced in that is not chocolate.
He's got a chocolate river, though.
Yeah, but like the Wonka bar is the only chocolate candy he produces. The rest of it is like the Gobstopper and the gum, and these are all not chocolate-based candies.
Obviously, the bar is what is carrying everything.
Now, I feel like that's probably true, but like a lot of the other stuff showcased in there just definitely not chocolate-based, and so I feel like Chocolate Factory a bit misleading. I mean, the river of chocolate does sort of do that, but that's only for like mixing the chocolate.
Yeah,
but who knows? Are there other kinds of
worded letter to them? So
are there other? I don't actually know. I don't really like that movie, so I don't really know. But like, are there multiple kinds of Wonka bar? Is there just one? Do we know?
I have no idea.
No, neither. I know that's really inconsequential to the plot of the movie, but like just thinking about these things, like if there are more listeners, if you are an expert on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, please let us know if Wonka made more than just one type of bar.
I don't know,
because I don't recall. I feel like he did. I feel something is telling me that there were multiple kinds, but I don't remember.
I don't know. I mean, I know it's going to be hard to search for this because for a while they do have Wonka bars that you can go buy.
Yeah,
so
in the real world. In the ultimate crossover event.
Yeah. So I don't know how I don't know. It's going to be interesting to search. Because Nestle picked them up as a brand to then produce. But I don't know.
Yeah, but they only make. Also, confusingly, you can't buy a Wonka bar in real life, can you?
No, you could.
I've only ever seen the Gobstoppers.
Oh,
available.
No, they stopped selling them. Sorry, I'm doing my research on Live on Air, which is a fun thing to do. They stopped selling them back in 2010, so it's been 11 years since.
Okay. So
So you're right here. Okay, Wonka was said to have invented over 200 kinds of Wonka bars.
Oh, okay.
That's Grandpa Joe is telling that in the story.
Okay. I don't remember that. Okay.
Okay. And they started production with the real world bars shortly after the 2005 film.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Yes.
How do you have 200 different candy bars?
Especially chocolate bars. Well, they have names like Whipple, Scrumptious, Fudge Mellow, Delight, Nutty Crunch Surprise, Triple Dazzle Caramel. Like these get a little, Preccio Nutty Bar, Edible Garden, Eureka Moment, Happy Go Lucky, Making Wow. Anyway, lots of different varieties that you come up with when you just throw words into a jumble and pull them out.
Words out there, but logistically, I don't know if you could come up with 200 different types.
Okay, challenge for next.
Especially from one factory. Especially from one factory, right? Worldwide, there are 200 different types of chocolate bar, but a lot of them are just milk chocolate. They're just made by different companies, right? So I guess the formulation would be slightly different. Because a Cadbury tastes different than a Hershey tastes different than a Mars bar.
Apparently, we need to go take a trip to the UK and Australia to get access to currently sold Wonka bars because they are sold in those markets. But not, okay.
Interesting.
Trip.
Very interesting.
Yeah. We'll add that to the topic list. Travel to Australia and eat a Wonka bar.
Yes, I think maybe that might be a bit of a stretch just for that one thing. Although I will admit, that's one of my biggest regrets from when I was in Australia. I didn't just go into a grocery store.
Yeah.
Right. Now, after I got back, I was like, dang it. I should have done that just to see what was going on in there. Tried to buy some exciting something. Right. It's what's it like in here? Even just to see the different brand of I don't know, stuff.
Yeah. No. When I had to travel to Quebec for some training many years ago at this point, and I had
that was a while ago now.
A while ago, and I had to get an Airbnb, and then I had to stock up on food for the week, and I did have to go to a grocery store, and I was like, that last assignment in French 2 where you have to go grocery shopping is really paying off right now.
True.
I am really digging this. And I actually did send an email to Ms. Chiminel Roten telling her.
Did you really?
I did. I was like, hey, this is going to be very odd, but many aspects of my life have led me to where I currently am. And I want to say thank you for
Thank you for making me grocery shop in French and film it.
Had to go grocery shopping in French. It was marvelous. I did send her an email and she responded and it was great. Whatever, but I was. Yeah, that's
hilarious.
Yeah, I was like, wow, who would have thunk all these years of training have paid off.
That's true. I did that. I had to do that when we went to Manitoba because there was a section in Manitoba where things were in French. We were just wandering around. I was like, what Oh,
focus.
okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that, but all right.
Yeah.
I read a plaque. It's very exciting. Very out of practice now. Probably couldn't do it today. That was much, much closer to the time I had taken French.
Yes. Yeah. How quickly all that slips away.
That's true. To practice up.
Okay, add that to the challenge. Travel to.
Oh dear. Read signs in French. There we go.
Yeah. There's actually on the fairgrounds. There's actually a French boxcar that was donated, that was used in World War I and World War II. That was then, because I guess after World War II, France gifted each state of the United States a commemorative train car that was filled with gifts and presents to each state.
Weird.
And then, yes, I had no idea about this. Didn't learn this.
What?
Yeah, and
that's wild.
And not all of them are currently still in existence, and like most people, nobody knows where all of like what the gifts were or where they all
what
went.
was inside this thing.
Because they all went to politicians and crap back then, and they've just disappeared.
47 wheels of cheese,
and all the
what was in
wine.
there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that could be what it was.
And
but
so it's interesting, yeah, because there's one on the fairgrounds, and they have a whole society that's kind of like built up around it that maintain it, keep it painted, and tell the story about it. Yeah, and how it was moved. It was moved in Jeff City for a long time before they were like, let's put it at the fairgrounds. So there it sits.
I mean, that does feel like a more natural home for it.
Yeah,
the state fairgrounds,
I guess. Yeah, but they brought it out there and it's undergone like 2 or 3 renovations on it, and
there's probably more room for it at the state fairgrounds.
A lot of room. Yeah, the hundreds of acres that are.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's crazy.
It sits under a covered pavilion, I think. Yeah, under a covered pavilion, and you just go up and see it and touch it, and it's sitting on tracks that they've cut out and set there for you to view it, and it's kind of cool. It's really neat.
Oh. Yeah, a lot of people do that. That's crazy. French listeners, help us out here. We need to figure out more about this. How did this happen, and what was in these train cars? International mysteries abound. We must know. I'm so confused.
I know. It's very it's very interesting.
I want to know what was in these cars. I know. So, French listening friends or other historian people out there, if you have heard of this or know where we can learn about this, I want to know what is inside the mysterious French train car.
Yeah.
Man, this is exciting.
That's the challenge. Solve this mystery. Let's get busy.
Yeah.
It's down. Yeah. I thought it was very. Anyway, so that's quite the segue that we've come from.
That is very exciting.
Klondike Bars. I think we should probably dive into
what the listeners expect.
It's patent pending, I guess.
That's true. Yes.
Main topic challenge was watch a sci-fi film.
Yes. Now, first of all, I thought about this as well. Do you pronounce it genre or genre?
Genre, soft G.
Okay, soft G. I know a lot of people say it with the hard J sound. I've heard that before.
They are wrong.
They are wrong. This one, that was, well, you know.
I think I get that from scientific naming. You can say genre, or genre, or you don't say. I can't even imagine how you would say that one. Anyway,
well, yes, but like I just thought about that callback.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yes. For how you put. Oh man, I had a word, this will come to me. We can keep going of that discussion we had a couple
Fair enough.
ago. Anyway, so yeah, watch a sci-fi.
I just thought that was a callback to that. Watch Sci-Fi. So again, I guess traditionally, we start with the what is your experience with the sci-fi genre? Do you like it? Is it something you're into or no? What do you think, Collin?
I am probably more of a fan of fantasy films, where there's just like magic, as opposed to sci-fi. And I think that's typically because most of the sci-fi, it takes a lot for me to be drawn in to go, okay, that's believable when there's no like hand wavy like magic. So I tend to get taken out of the movie more quickly because I'm like, well, I don't know how that works, or like, oh, I don't know, blah blah. I tend to be more critical of them, but I think of movies like, I don't know if like Back to the Future. Like I really enjoy those movies, but I feel like any time travel movies I'm probably a really big sucker for, because that's, those are pretty sci-fi at that point. But yeah, I don't feel like they're a genre of movie that I intentionally seek out most of the time. I feel like they tend to just happen upon me where I watch them, versus this is something that I can really, really hone in on.
Well, I think part of that is, well, I'll let Aaron go first. Aaron, what about you?
So for me, like, I don't know if it's just like, me playing a bunch of random video games growing up. So science fiction always became easier to me, although it kind of had like a weird little, asterisk to it, because there was like the Sci-Fi channel, but they always aired like some sort of like B-rated movie that was like, oh, Sharktopus versus Shark Gator, and like they would just kind of throw that out there. So it was kind of tainted for me for a little bit, because like when I thought of sci-fi, I always thought of like those kind of movies, but then I'd watch some sort of science-y or futuristic movie and it just wouldn't like click that would be like it's like in the same genre or like the same kind of like classification as like, Sharknado or things like that. So for me, it kind of, especially like when I was younger, I was just watching a movie just to watch a movie. It's like, oh, they got lasers and this and that. And it never really hit me until I got older of like actually understanding like what conceptually I was watching. So it took a while for me to watch like, or to get my head wrapped around some of those films. Is it something that I typically seek out? Meh. I'm kind of in the same boat as Collin, as like the fantasy films or things like that always like have my attention, but like the kid in me will always be like, ooh, Star Wars. So hence why I went and watched the new 3 series like by myself like 3 separate times in movie theaters. So
okay, yeah. No, I definitely agree with kind of both of you. I was thinking about this question for myself, and I feel like this is, for the reasoning behind this for me, is a couple of reasons. Number one, there are definitely different levels of sci-fi movies, right? That there are movies that sort of really tackle those deep sci-fi themes about like humanity and like the world and all that stuff, Mm-hmm. And then there's other movies that just sort of happen in a sci-fi setting, right? And so like, there's kind of different levels. A lot of sci-fi movies really take themselves very seriously in that first category, right? And a lot of them are bad, right? They're just straight up not good movies. And I think that's the other problem, right? A lot of sci-fi movies get made and, you watch them and you're just like, that movie was terrible. Either because they were just a setting and there was like no plot at all. It's just like, oh, look at these effects. You're like, that is boring. Or they like lean really heavy and they think they're being like really deep, but they're just like, lame. Like,
Yeah.
what? They don't tackle those themes well. And I feel like that's kind of the problem that sci-fi movies delve into. They just don't come out good. And they are, in a lot of them, the ones that like have these themes, they're very like, they can be just very like dark. They're not like happy movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And leaning into what you said about Back to the Future, this week I had read about the guy that was originally supposed to play Marty McFly. I don't remember what his name was now. He was dropped from the movie because he was reading that character much more seriously. Right? He was adding a level of gravitas to the role that the studio didn't really want to deal with. Right? It's because at the end of the first movie, he's really playing like Marty's, and this is a thing I've thought about before. It was like Marty's life is now completely different. And he lives in a world where his childhood doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Because his family is completely different. And so his upbringing is different. And so the person that he should be and the person that he is are not the same. And so he has a lot to deal with. But the movie, they're just like, anyway, this is fun. Look at Doc, right?
I will say that there's a neat little like docuseries on Netflix called The Movies That Made Us. And they talk about that whole kind of like behind the scenes stuff of Back to the Future. And it shows some of like the original cuts of that movie of the person that was supposed to play Marty McFly. And I was like, oh, yeah, I would have not liked this movie.
Yeah, it was a lot. He was taking it a lot more in a serious direction because he was thinking about those things, which is things I thought about too, right? But they don't really touch on that. So a lot of times they can be serious. And if you're not in the mood for like a serious thinking movie, like some sci-fi movies are not for you. Sometimes you just want to like watch a sci-fi movie that's like, oh, there's, like you said, Aaron, there's lasers and there's cool things happening. And they're like, a hover car. Why is there a hover car? Who cares? It's cool. Let's go with it.
And
right?
Jetpacks. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. There's this broad category. And a lot of times they just get done badly.
Yeah.
Like the execution on film is just like, what? So yeah, that's kind of what I saw. There's some movies that I like, and a lot of them are like the variety where it's like a space movie. Those aren't the like big heavy themed ones. And then there's a couple that like sort of dip their toe into like what it means to be human, right? That's like the big crux of a lot of sci-fi. And like I said, can be done in varying degrees of good. So like we'll see where we are. So who wants to start off with the sci-fi extravaganza?
I'll go.
Collin does.
I'll go. Okay. So
since this was triggered by him and his take on AI last week.
Oh my gosh. Well, in sticking with good old Steven Spielberg's directing, I watched 2002's Minority Report.
No, did you really?
I did. Nice. Did I steal anybody else's? No.
No. Yeah, we forgot to text each other this week.
Yeah,
whoops.
Sorry. Here we go. This will be fun. No, I can't remember if I actually ever saw this movie or not. But I know that it gets really good because I've seen so many since then where I'm like, wait, is it this one or is this like I kept on thinking this was from like many scenes. It's like, oh, and the thing with the robots are coming, and I was like, oh no, wait, that's iRobot, and that was with Will Smith.
That's iRobot, yeah.
I just for whatever reason I kept thinking like so because at some point, right, you watch them one time and they just so I don't know if I ever watched this before, but
yeah,
I really liked this one because it's very much like an old school, I guess, noir film where you've got the detective who's got to try and solve the mystery, right? And it's kind of dark, and it's kind of it's kind of cyberpunk too, a little bit that goes in with it. So I like that part, that it's kind of a detective story underneath all of the futuristic takes that it's going on. And I think it's also very prescient, given many of the surveillance initiatives and things that have tried to come up over the years. And I think it's, again, you talked about one of those themes that tend to come up in sci-fi films is this kind of is it a utopia or or is
or
it
dystopia, right?
Or is it a dystopia? Exactly. And I feel like this one, what I liked about this one is, as you watch it, you really feel like it's a society that's kind of on the verge of trying to decide which way it's going to go. And with with the precogs that are functioning, of trying to figure out who's going to have crime next. It's because the part that again, there's lots of this, because it's like also like tech startup too, of like the precogs are just in Washington, D.C. right now. And they're trying to do an initiative to take it nationwide. So you can feel like this is just about to be released upon all of the population. And so do we want to go down that road? Is that something that we feel like is useful? And you find that the people who are working in there, who are the detectives, like our Tom Cruise, they're even being duped about the legitimacy of many things going on, and of like, it's called Minority Report because of the three precogs. One doesn't always, or like a lot of times, one will not agree with the other two, and that's called the Minority Report, and that gets deleted from the system, and nobody sees that, and you only see the majority, and so you feel like they're always right, and that's why it's always so good. So it does delve with a lot of these questions. I think a little bit directly, but with the like, okay, so you stop them from doing the crime, but how would you prosecute somebody for a pre-crime whenever they didn't actually do it? They didn't do anything. They just thought about it, and you saw it into the future, and then you stop them from doing it. So how is that an actual crime? And given the level of surveillance and things that go on like that, you can kind of see how this is still very relevant in 2021. And then I like a lot of the plot twists of it too. And again, you do have to set belief off to the side some now and then. I do, because when they developed this film, Spielberg like locked away, I don't know, like 10 or 15 people apparently in a room for a 3-day weekend to talk about the future of like, okay, because he wanted he wanted to make it seem real, like they weren't just pulling things out of thin air, because you do feel like that in sci-fi, just how quickly they get dated, right? And I think that's another thing why I tend to not like them, because unless they're like 2,000 years in the future, if they're like this one where it's like 50 years in the future, you go, oh, well, that was a swing and a miss. Like the one thing that did take me out of this was just knowing how common things like facial recognition are these days on your phone or on apps and things like that. Like that is nowhere existent in this film at all. And you can kind of see how like, well, if they did have that, how that would solve a lot of different things. But it was just interesting to see how they kind of presented some of that technology. Oh, and one of my favorite part about this, not my favorite part, but like the personalized ads as he's walking through the store, trying to run away. It's funny. He's trying to evade the cops, and as he's running through the mall, they keep showing these personalized ads. They're like, "Hi, John. Hi, John. Hi, John." And I was like, "Oh man, I feel that
it's Google.
I feel that on Google or YouTube or Facebook. It's like you can't go anywhere. They're like, "Hi, we know your history. We know who you are, and here's your better ad experience." I just laughed at that because I was like, given how the internet is these days, that's exactly how you feel as you browse. You're just like, stop following me. Not that you're trying to evade the cops or anything, but it was just very I related to that very very deeply. Towards the end it gets a little like not necessarily like kind of a got you, but they do pull some tricks to advance the plot forward, as far as the who done it and who's the ultimate bad guy. Spoilers, it's the guy who's in charge of the pre-crime, leading the precogs thing, because he's got a vested interest in making this succeed, so he's trying to get rid of everybody in his way. But that's kind of end in a more utopia of like everyone lives happily ever after, and John gets back with his wife and they're going to have a kid and things. And so I like how it is wrapped up a little bit, but I really enjoyed it. Again, I think just because there are so many topics that we're still dealing with as far as security and tracking and that side of technology. So no, I really enjoyed it a lot. And it's got Tom Cruise in it, so he's going to run, he's going to jump, it's going to be action. So
he's going to run.
he's going to run. And it kept me. So I think that
this
too.
Tiny running, like
very high, very dramatic. There was one scene where he's standing next to somebody and he's like towering over them, and I just kept thinking of like, how tall is that box? How tall is that box?
I was gonna say, yeah. Aren't you 5'5", Tom Cruise?
I know. So we'll probably get pulled from the internet for saying that, but no,
that's true. It's fine.
I think it was a good mixture of the action, just enough action with the noir aspect, with the sci-fi nature of its setting, but the setting gives each one of those, gives the action, gives the noir its purpose as it's delving deeper and trying to reconcile with some of these issues as they play out. And I really enjoyed it.
All right. And he's 5 minutes looked it up. So sorry, Tom. Sorry, cut you down there. Well, that's good. I'm glad. I might need to rewatch that movie then, because I have a distinct memory of watching it in the theater and not liking it. But that was I saw it when it first came out.
Okay.
And you were kind of talking about it, and I didn't really remember all those things that happened. So like,
so I watched.
I remembered a couple things. I was like, oh yeah, and then you'd say something and be like, what? I don't remember that at all.
I didn't really give a good breakdown of what the actual film was, but
that's fine. It's all right.
Because I watched it and then I read a lot of reviews and things about it, and most of the big takeaways were like, most people remember like Tom Cruise waving his hands around to interact with the thing, right? And I remember that scene.
and
And they remember like the precogs who were in like the watery milk or whatever, but like they don't. I think if you watch it from it's a detective, again, like it's sci-fi, but it's a detective movie set with the sci-fi thoughts and setting, right, that you're grappling with as you're trying to work through the detective story.
Yeah, nice. All right. Yeah, I don't remember as much of the detective part, and I do like detective things, so maybe that would make it a little better. Yeah, I might have to check that one out again and see how it goes on rewatch many years later, and not remembering a thing about the movie.
See,
so there
you
go. Well, Aaron, what about you?
Well, so I kind of, before all of this, I made kind of like a list of like, sci-fi movies that I've seen over the years, and then I Googled and got like the 100 like top list of like sci-fi films, and most of the films that I had on my list were on this list, so that made me very happy. The problem was that some of the movies that I wanted to watch were like science fiction-y, like there's like a hint of science fiction that was kind of like there that like made it classified as science fiction, and then I kind of like went down the rabbit hole. So I started with 1999's Deep Blue Sea. And
yes.
So when I was younger, all I knew was that there's an underwater facility and that there's really smart sharks. What I didn't know until I was much older is that the scientists were trying to find a cure for Alzheimer's by using like enhanced shark brains, but that kind of like glassed over like, oh, the whole thing's coming down, and here's smart sharks. And so like the science fiction was there, but not like enough for me, and so that somehow transformed into another under the sea twist of the 1989's The Abyss.
Yes.
Which, again, when I was younger, all I saw was Ed Harris swimming. Some weird things happen. There's like earthquakes, there's Navy SEALs, and then boom, there's aliens. I didn't realize that it was like the Navy trying to get like a nuclear submarine, but it just so happens to be sunk by like these alien creatures that like are in the ocean, and that interaction between the human aspect of it, and then the aliens coming in. So that's kind of what I picked after watching Deep Blue Sea, and I was like, there's got to be something else like this. Ooh, The Abyss. And then looking at my list, I was like, oh, there's a lot of other movies that I have seen and I know would have also been very good movies to add on here, or at least that I could have watched, but I didn't have time. So it's kind of, with The Abyss, there's that human aspect that, it feels very 1980s, 1990s, and like, oh, here's this, and oh, here's all this human-esque technology, and then boom, there's aliens. So there's that twist of the more like unknown than anything, because it's the abyss of the not knowing, and plus kind of like that suspense feel of in the claustrophobic tight spaces under the ocean, that I always like. Even when I was younger watching it, I always got like that thrill from that excitement, and then was like, oh, there's aliens. Kind of into it. So that's the movie I picked, and I'll kind of go over my list later once you're done, Brandon, with all of them, because like I'll rattle them off, and then I'll let you guys kind of think of where you think they feel. Now again, I made a small list, and then when I Googled them, I put more on my list. Like, oh, that would be a good one. Like, oh, that would have been a good one. Ooh, that would have been a cool one too. So
okay, cool. That sounds good. Nice. That's yeah. The most distinctive part of that movie I remember is when he like is in that gel stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, freaks me out.
And he like, it's all in his lungs and stuff. Oh my gosh. That freaked me out too when I was little.
I will say the scene where they put the rat in that gel thing, like still to this day. When I watched it, I was like, yeah, the thing. So, and then like when he's in contact with aliens for the first time, and he takes his helmet off, and there's just that sense of relief and curiosity sinks in and everything. Even when I watched it, I was like, oh, that's a weird feeling. I don't know if I can do that. So
yeah, that's a good movie. That's a good choice.
Yeah.
All right, so I watched. I wanted to watch a movie that I had never seen before. Because like I have watched, and I looked at some lists on the internet, and I was like, I've seen a lot of these. So I want to watch one I've never seen. So I watched, what is it, 2010's Ex Machina.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Or 2014, maybe. But I watched this movie. This is kind of in keeping with that artificial intelligence kind of theme. Pretty heavy sci-fi stuff, right? So, basically, the brief rundown of this movie is that it's not very long, which is one of the best things about this movie. There's a guy who he's like an employee at a tech company, right? Think like this world's made up Google, basically. And he wins a weekend to stay with the mysterious recluse CEO, owner, inventor, computer whiz of this company, right? But surprise, the weekend is actually a Turing test for an AI that this guy's invented.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's a surprise Turing test in his mountainous compound, like weird supervillain hideaway thing in the thing. And so yeah, that's the basic thing of this movie. So it's one of those movies where it's like there's basically 4 people in this movie, and it all takes place in this house. So it's kind of all about this Turing test. So he has invented this AI, and he brings this guy in because he wants to do this Turing test. So a Turing test, if you don't know, is basically where you sit and you try to determine if what you are talking to is an artificial intelligence or a real person, right? And if you cannot tell, then it passes, right? That's how it works. And this movie is basically the worst Turing test of all time.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I did not like this movie at all. I'm apparently in the minority because the reviews are like really strong, right? They're all like, oh, this movie's great. It has very high scores. I did not like it as much as I thought it. It sounds like a great idea. But when you start watching it, you're like, maybe I was being too critical. But like the testing part, I was like, this is the worst test ever. It's not a blind test. He goes, hey, you're talking to a robot.
What?
Yeah. You're like, it should be a true test, should be a blind test, right? You should basically be sitting on one side of a screen by yourself and just talking. That should be it. And you should also be like talking to multiple things like an AI and like people, right? To try to discern patterns. This is a terrible test. He tells him it's a robot. He makes the robot like hyper feminized, right? So he's like blinded by the femininity of the robot, which is bizarre. He like does a lot of things to like manipulate the emotions. So like there's TV, but he like accidentally finds like quote unquote accidentally finds the closed circuit television channel so he can like watch this AI construct in her body like wandering around. So he's like basically being emotionally manipulated. And yeah. So there's a lot of that. And it's like they try to explain it away. He's like, well, yeah, I did that because this. And you're like, no, that's stupid. No, that's you did this because you thought to make a better movie. Like it really pulled me out of it a lot, right? Like the plot was just like, dude, what the heck? And basically, like you can kind of see the ending coming from like 12 miles away, right? Like, oh gee, I wonder how this movie will end. Oh no, what's going to happen? And basically, he like gave the robot a directive, right? Like her goal is to like try to escape, right? That's kind of what they're doing. And so she's trying to use all these manipulations to get the guy to let her out. So it's a terrible test. Scientifically, it's the worst test ever, right? It's awful. They do briefly touch on some of those things, like, you know, if it's successful or he has to do something, he has to like reformat her. And so like, is that killing her? Is she actually alive? Is that just this guy's emotions putting things on it? Like they touch on that stuff, but like not enough in a good way anyway. Oh, you know what I mean? And it's very like, I don't know. They went in a very like arty direction, right? So like the inside of the building is like very austere and like the lighting is like gray, you know, the soundtrack is like synthy. So it's like, whatever. So it was just a little much. And it was a bad test. I couldn't get over what a bad test this was. And like, they had a really good opportunity to focus on some of this like humanity characteristics, and they blew it with this stupid test. They messed it up with the setup, I think. And so I did not like that movie. I was apparently in the minority report of the oh no because this movie gets very positive reviews online. Like Rotten Tomato score is very high, other review things are very high. I did not like it. Mostly because I called the ending like at the beginning and like right like what basically after they set up and like there's some things that happen and you're like, nah, I know how this is gonna end. So then it's like really kind of boring and kind of a slog to get to the end of the movie to be like, oh, look how right I was.
See, that's
amazing.
Yeah. Huh.
I don't. So that I feel like they tried a little too hard for me. So, yeah. Your mileage may vary with Ex Machina, but I thought I was going to like it. When I remember, like when it came out, I remember thinking it would be interesting. Glad I didn't see it in the theater. So that's good. So it would have been like disappointing. However, to go along with Aaron's thing, I have 2 movies to recommend to you in this vein that, for me, are better. Right. Number one, I think they're better because there is more action, and then so you can get more invested in the characters. Because like these dudes in this house, like I literally don't care about them. Like,
can I guess one of your?
I'm not invested. I'm not invested in them at all. So I'm like, this is boring. I don't even like this guy. So this movie's terrible. You're gonna guess, Aaron?
Yes.
All right, guess.
Blade Runner.
No. Good guess.
Go on.
That is a good one. But for as this like humanity thing, you could do Blade Runner. That's a good one. Is the new Blade Runner good? I haven't seen that one. Anyway, mixed reviews. Okay. Well, who knows? I might like it because this movie has high reviews and I didn't like it at all. So one movie that I would suggest if you like this, like, what does it mean to be human? Am I really human? Like, what makes you real kind of thing is 2005's The Island with Ewan McGregor. Right.
Okay.
This movie is very interesting. It's a lot more action-y, right? The setup for that movie is they're living in this like utopian world, and then they think they're going to win a trip to an island. Actually, it turns out they're clones, and when they get a trip to the island, they're taken away and they get killed, and their organs are harvested for the person who they're a clone of.
What? Oh my!
Yeah.
Okay. That see that one coming.
And so Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson in this movie, they escape. They get out. They figure out what's happening and they break out of this place. And they're like, really? Because they've been told this lie of, oh, the world was destroyed in a nuclear apocalypse and you're living in this underground bunker, safe in this perfect society. And the trip to the island is like, you know, it's one of the only places on Earth where you can be above ground and it's nice and safe. And you win the, quote, lottery and you get to go there. But they're actually clones. And if the people that they are clones of need a medical procedure, the organs are taken from these clones. So they have this fight about, you know, it's got this struggle about like, well, we're people, right? We have lives and we have thoughts and feelings too. And just because we're clones doesn't mean that we're disposable, right? So there's this whole kind of thing. And it's a lot more action-y. There's lots of escape and drama and intrigue. Because they like find Ewan McGregor's guy, like the person he's a clone of.
Yeah.
And there's a whole thing with him. So that movie is really kind of, it's more interesting. It's a more interesting kind of thought process on that, right?
Yeah.
Like where you think about it. And it handles these things in it's like a more fun way, you know, it's more action-y, but it is kind of this like, what is humanity type of situation? And like, what is life worth and all that stuff. Another movie that I like a lot, and then a lot of people like this movie, I think, is the movie Chappie.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like he's a police robot, right? But he gets like the card for like consciousness or whatever, and he becomes like sentient, and then there's this whole situation with how to deal with that, and it kind of really touches on a lot of like nature versus nurture kind of stuff. And because he spends time with the police and he spends time with like some criminals, and like if you're going to create something like this, you have to be responsible for how it develops, and you have to think about these kind of things about what you do after it's made. And so it's pretty cool. It is a little extra because it's from like South Africa, so the Die Antwoord people are in this movie, and they are very strange.
Because they're the criminals, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're extraordinarily extra. They fit in really good in this like sort of pseudo futuristic world because their fashion is like, what happening? So some people don't like the movie because of them, but because they're like weird. But like, but I kind of like how that movie goes and handles this stuff. I think it's interesting. So I recommend either The Island or Chappie instead of Ex Machina. There's my hot take for today.
Okay. Well, so that kind of ties in weirdly to with Chappie, because one of the movies that I had on my list is actually District 9. The other,
he's the same director, right?
Yes, yeah, from also South Africa, where they kind of have to put, aliens come to Earth, and they have to kind of like put them in their own little kind of like ghettos, or their own kind of district, and it's kind of like that. It starts off as that like documentary-esque thing, and then you kind of follow the guy, and it's like it kind of just throws you into like an immediate clash of like today modern, and then like boom, here's just these aliens, and they're trying to survive in our society and our lives. So that when you said Chappie, I was like, oh hey, that's number 3 on my list. So
yeah, I like it because it talks a lot about like human behavior and is it learned or is it programmed, and how do you do these things? I like it a lot. It's got a bad score online, but I think it's better.
Man, you don't like the highly reviewed ones, but you do like the poorly reviewed ones. Is the problem with you? No, I'm kidding.
The highly reviewed one is boring, and you can you literally, if you watch this movie, I don't know if but I was sitting there watching the first 20 minutes, because the first like 12 minutes they kind of do that whole like thing, and the problem shows up and everything. It's very formulaic in that way, but like you get into some details, and you're just like, I know how this is going to end. Like, there's no doubt of how this movie is going to end at all.
I think that's the problem again with the sci-fi. When they take themselves too seriously and they really try and inhabit the world, when they don't have that magical aspect that's brought in sometimes with the fantasy, if they don't get it right, it's going to ruin the story, or you're going to predict it, or because you're going to be able to reason it out. Well, I think that's kind of why I like watching fantasy films, because when they just hand wave and go magic, you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. Oh my gosh. But if they're like, this follows all the same rules of physics and logic and expectations of the world you're currently living in, we're just 50 years in the future. Ooh, you're like, oh, well,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's why I like Chappie more, because he's quote born, and he's sort of like puzzling out this functioning in the human world with his consciousness.
Yeah.
And he's dealing with all these things, and like he's discovering emotions and like stuff like that. Whereas in Ex Machina, it's just like this cold machine, like manipulating to get a thing they want. And it's like, it's boring, right? It doesn't have that kind of like wonderment, or like it takes this thing that should be like really interesting and it makes it boring. and they test badly. That's the other thing. I think I also got really stuck on the fact that it's set up on the basis of a scientific test, and it's the worst test ever. And I really couldn't get past that.
Yeah, again, this is like, what a Turing test is. There's logic behind how it should or shouldn't be conducted. And when you see that not playing out on the screen, all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. This is just being done for plot purposes now.
And they tried to slough it off. They like throw all these technical terms at you that like nobody knows what they mean, right? They're like, oh, I thought this, or blah, blah, algorithm. And like, you're just making things up to fill this out. Again, look, it's a mercifully short movie, right? It's like an hour 40.
Oh, geez. That's like nothing.
So it's like, boom. Yeah. Might be like hour 35, because a lot of it's the credit to the end. So like, it's just like, yeah. So yeah, I would recommend those other 2 movies. So Aaron, what else is on this list of yours?
All right. So I'm just going to go down it, stop and comment if you wish. So as listed, The Abyss, Deep Blue Sea, District 9. So I had the original Predator with Arnold. Kind of, and most of these are kind of from like the 1980s, like the 1990s of that partial like suspense sci-fi. The Predator was there. I don't remember ever like seeing this movie, but I remember just when I was younger trying to watch it with you, Brandon, and never like fully understanding it. But this popped in my head once I found like the Google list. But the 12 Monkeys with Bruce Willis?
Yeah, is it Bruce Willis? I think I don't think you watched that with me because I'm not even sure I've seen all that movie.
Yeah.
So,
but I remember.
I think I saw it once and I was like, huh. I don't remember anything about it though.
Of the guy time traveling.
Yeah.
Aren't you thinking of Looper with Bruce Willis?
No, Bruce Willis is also in that film, but no,
I
the
know.
12 Monkeys. 1995. Yeah. Avatar of kind of, space, new world, sci-fi. This was one that I had on my list because I was thinking of like animated ones, but I really liked WALL-E when that came out.
Oh yeah.
It was kind of like what the world could be one day. Obviously Blade Runner. Because even when I was younger, all I saw was Harrison Ford shooting at people, and then in the rain, and that's it. And then when I was older,
the end of that movie is so good.
And then when I got older, understanding that this are they called synthetics? Or
something like that.
Yeah, and they're like, I am, I've seen things you people wouldn't even believe, and it's like, oh my gosh, the tears. So Blade Runner, I was never a fan of the Planet of the Apes series. Like I didn't like the Charlton Heston ones.
Me either.
I didn't like the Mark Wahlberg one. Oh
no, that one was terrible.
The new-ish ones, like meh, but I didn't like the original. Close Encounters of the Third Kind was another movie that I never understood until I was older. But for some reason, out of all the jingles and ringtones that I've ever heard, I could always get the part, like just like it's always there. Terminator, the Alien series, the first two, Colin Back to the Future, the Star Wars, 2001: A Space Odyssey. I have never seen that movie in its entirety.
Something very austere, sad.
Because I've always been like heavy, ooh, and then bored.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good summary of that movie.
the first one that was kind of like on my list was The Matrix.
I didn't like The Matrix.
Because it made it, we actually in like the world. Like I don't know. A new movie that came out this year. It's either on Netflix or Amazon. I can't remember, but it's called The Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt.
I've heard of
like people from the future coming back to our time and being like, "Hey, there's a war. We need to recruit you. And we're going to send you forward in time to fight it." And then there's a whole big kerfuffling. And then the last movie that I had on my list, because I'm excited for the new release because I tried reading the book. I tried with all my heart, with all my little heart. And then I have the older movie and I'm like, wow, I'm going to start this. And then like 10 minutes in, I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. Is Dune. So
I thought you were going to say that.
Because like I watch it and then all I get is that there's a big worm thing and then, oh my God. And I'm like, what is happening? So
yeah.
That's another movie that's what kind of Colin talked about before, like where they just take science fiction, just kind of like throw it at your face and like, look at
they ramp it up to 11.
Here's this sci-fi and look at this goobly gook. It turns you into a floating cheese monster. And it's like, how am I supposed to comprehend all of this?
Yeah. Why do we care about spice again? I don't know why.
With Patrick Stewart, put him in as many scenes as you want. I'm still not going to comprehend what's going on. So, yes. So that was, even though I have started Dune with the intention of like taking notes and watching it. I've just been like, I'm just going to sit back and play on my phone. I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah. I feel the same way about that movie. I watched it once and I think I was like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have no idea what is going on. Also, movie I seem to remember it's like 7 hours long. I don't think that's accurate, but it felt so long.
It was quite long. So
looping back, haha, pun intended, again to what Colin said earlier. You want to talk about a convoluted movie series, and that would be The Terminator. Like that movie starts to make no sense with its like weird time travel skip aroundy. What?
Mhm.
Like,
What?
oh my gosh! Like the first two movies, you're like, okay, Terminator and Terminator 2. You're like, okay, I got this. And then like T3, you're like, what? And then I stopped watching them because I was like, I have no idea what's going on anymore.
Yeah.
And like now we're just drawing them out to make movies. Like it doesn't make sense.
And trying to fit them in the timeline and like doing a lot of retconning and things like that. And while I enjoy the one-off time traveling movie, like I really do. I guess the times like I really enjoyed the book. What was it? Time Traveler. What was that actually by H.G. Wells?
I need a movie for another
The Time Machine.
Time Machine. Yes, the Time Machine. Yeah, I really enjoyed that book. The movie was
That book is really good.
movie was horrendous and awful, and I hated every moment of it. But I do like
they didn't do that one well.
I really like the one-off time travel. If you're going to do 3 again, I think the really only good time travel multiple film has been Back to the Future. And I think because while it plays a role, it's not like, oh man, could you imagine if, what if? Like, it's not trying to answer any questions. Like, there's broader things that are going on with, like, it's kind of just a movie with time travel attached to it, which I really enjoyed. So time travel movies are really hard to get right, almost impossible, one might say, given that we don't know. So it's
I have an amendment to my list.
Okay.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the
No, sorry.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I had to throw it in there before I forgot. My pen ran out of ink, so I was like, sure.
That's all right.
So
We'll allow it.
That's the movie that's like, it's kind of fun to watch, but I'm definitely not one of the people that's like super into that movie. Like, it's fine, but I'm not like there's some people that are like really love those stories in that movie like a lot, and I'm like, it's fine. Like, I don't.
Sure.
You don't have to hurt your little brother's feelings that much, but okay.
That's all right. You're allowed to like it. That's okay.
No,
Maybe. Okay. Well, I enjoyed this challenge. Again, it's one of those things. I don't intentionally seek out the sci-fi films in general, so it was good to step out and try something intentionally a little bit different. So appreciate that.
That's true.
But very good. I enjoyed that a lot. So lots more things to add.
Me too.
List of things to watch. And yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Sounds good to me.
Okay, folks. Keep surviving, keep thriving, keep driving, diving.
Driving. Oh no.
We'll see you this in a week.
All right.
Huzzah.
Love you guys.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.